We live in one of the easiest times of our lives. While we once needed to travel great distances to acquire essentially essentials for our daily lives, we now possess the means to receive them right at our fingertips. Practically everyone has a phone, and practically every phone has the internet, and through the internet, we have everything we could ever need. The pandemic made it easy for us to receive everything we need without ever having to step foot outside of our houses. Food, connection, entertainment, and now when we're not actively working, it's fairly common for us to just spend 4, 5, 6 hours a day in bed on our phones whilst watching a separate video on the laptop while the TV plays in the other room. We get our food through Uber Eats, connection through whatever influencer we have a parasocial relationship with, and our entertainment from the thousands of TikToks with Subway Surfers playing at the bottom to hook your attention. You know the ones I'm talking about. And we tell ourselves it's relaxing. We're relaxing. And after all, after a long work week or a study week or both, we deserve to be relaxed. And yet we often feel as if this experience sucks away what little energy we have left just in time for the next work week to come around. It's comfortable and it's routine, and it feels like it's the way things have always been, and it feels like it's the only way things will be, and yet we feel nothing. At a certain point, all that exists is the mindless, unbearable apathy as the next meme with the AI voice with the Subway Surfers gameplay fails to stimulate our desensitized dopamine receptors until we're finally forced to abandon the activity and look for stimulation elsewhere, constantly just reloading the Instagram page to see what our friends are doing, but only seeing the same few posts, and then doom scrolling into oblivion until we're reminded of something to check in another app, going between the same few apps time after time like some sick experiment on a rat with dementia running laps in a maze. Like a rat in a maze, we run laps from the comfort of our beds with a separate video on the laptop with the TV playing in the other room. We live in one of the easiest times of our lives, and yet we feel empty. While the technology that enables us to achieve such mind-numbing feats has only existed within the last few years, our brains have spent the last 300,000 evolving in order to process the world around us. It wasn't ready for this amount of information overload. They haven't caught up yet. They're used to doing a lot for very little, walking great distances for food that we now can get delivered to our doorsteps, being with our friends around the fire that we now do from our keyboards, enjoying the silent mundanity of everyday life which we now deafen through our 3 simultaneous streams of media. Now we're doing very little whilst receiving a lot, and the ever-increasing abundance of everything makes everything else seem inconsequential by comparison. We went too far and now we don't know what to do. If the answer sounds obvious, it is. It's cut back on screen time, desensitize your dopamine receptors, take your pants off and sun your perineum on the roof like Dr. Andrew Huberman says, but that's easier said than done. I'm sure your neighbours won't appreciate that last one, or maybe they will, I don't know. But since our lives often depend on access to our devices, like checking our emails, answering calls, content creation, organisation, it's now more difficult than ever to just disconnect and go off-grid. The world moves fast, trends come and go, cultural events die out, and FOMO exists, so we have more need than ever for our devices and the internet. Last year, I did what's called a dopamine detox. It used to be a trend amongst productivity influencers to log off and touch grass and spend 0 hours of their day consuming any digital media. I was meant to do it for 24 hours, but I ended up doing it for almost 800. For just over a month, I lived without any access to the internet or my phone, and the experience changed me. I felt like I did when I was a kid. The world was simple, not complex and nuanced. I didn't have to worry about geopolitical conflict. I had to worry about what I was going to do right now, and I didn't have to worry about misinterpreting the tone of a message. I had my friends right next to me. If all this sounds very old man yells at cloud, I get that. But that being said, I don't see any real downsides to cutting back on screen time. Life just goes on. Events come and go as they did before. Your friends, if they care about you, will visit you in person. The weight of the world doesn't feel as heavy because you're not carrying it on your shoulders anymore. You just have to focus on the task at hand and move on to the next one. So if you have time, then consider logging off for a few hours, touching grass, and maybe spending some time in the sun. It doesn't have to be just your perineum. I guarantee you'll feel like you did when you were a child, carefree and unburdened by the modern world. We live in one of the easiest times of our lives, but maybe we need a little hardship.